Am I the idiot for sleeping downstairs when my boyfriend didn't want to allow my dog to sleep in the room with us? My, female 30, and my boyfriend, 31 male, have been together for 6 months, and my dog and I have been in the process of moving in. My BF Cameron asked me to over a month ago, and I just moved everything out of my former place today. I have a dog, Sammy, who is 9 years old. I rescued him when he was around 2, and he's seen me through some really rough things. I was in an abusive relationship for a while that also really affected him. That ended 2 years ago, and it's been just Sammy and I since then. Cameron has a dog as well. She's a large breed, around 60 pounds, where Sammy is around 30. She's just over 3, and he rescued her when she was just under a year old. She had sometimes slept in his room with him, but mostly in a crate. My dog has never slept in a crate. I don't disagree with that method of training at all, but I'd be unwilling to force that on my dog now that he's so old. I go to bed before my boyfriend, and the last 2 nights he's been coming to bed and locking my dog out of the room. He'd mentioned, prior to doing this, thinking about not having my dog sleep in the room, and every time he brought it up, I expressed my discomfort. My dog and I have been through some rough things, and he's never not slept near me. Tonight, I stayed up much later with my boyfriend while he played on the computer. We went to go to bed, and he tried to lock my dog out, and I said I wasn't comfortable with that. He said my dog affected his allergies and makes weird mouth noises that were keeping him awake. His dog is not hypoallergenic. I said I respected that he needed sleep. I wanted to try to solve this issue when it wasn't nearly midnight, and that I'd like to either sleep on the couch with my dog nearby or sleep with the door open until we could have a proper conversation. He was really upset by this and told me both options were crap. I asked him for compromises, and he didn't have any. He then walked out while I was mid-sentence to sleep in his guest room, strictly no dogs allowed in that room. I don't know what I did wrong. I know I can be overprotective of my dog. Am I being unreasonable? I was trying to help. TLDR. My boyfriend is allergic to my dog, and instead of sleeping in the same room, I offered to sleep on the couch. Edit. I'd been at his home basically every night for the previous month and a half with my dog, and he'd never not slept in the room. I didn't think it was something for us to discuss. I also know he's allergic. I can tell when it gets worse. I think it's just a very mild reaction. Prior to this, when it seemed to be getting worse, we just knew it was time to wash the sheets, vacuum, and dust. I was hoping to talk to him about brushing, bathing more regularly in a longer discussion the next day. Edit 2. As clarification, I don't need my dog to sleep in the bed, just in the same room. Sammy typically just sleeps near me. He's also 9 and has really slowed down in the last year, which makes me constantly aware of the fact that I may not have much time left with him. You're an idiot. So before you moved in, he mentioned a couple of times that he didn't want your dog to sleep in the bedroom, and you expressed your discomfort, and that's where the conversation ended? That's absurd. You knew he didn't want your dog to sleep in the bedroom. He knew you wanted him to, and you didn't think it would be wise to actually reach a conclusion before moving in. You're the idiot. Your dog doesn't need to be in a crate, but it also doesn't need to sleep in your room or on the sofa. You can be apart for a few hours. This should have all been discussed beforehand now, for the next story. Am I an idiot for telling my girlfriend she needs to be polite and ruining her mood before an interview? So my girlfriend recently bought some clothes and ordered them to my house. I was planning to take them to her the next time I go to meet her. She lives in another country, so I fly there often. Since it was a lot of clothes, I told her that this is going to take up most of my suitcase. I suggested that I wear one of the jackets inside my big winter coat, and that way I would save some space. I sent her a picture of me wearing her new jacket, and she responded in a very weird tone. "Please don't wear my clothes, thank you. I don't like when other people wear my clothes." I think this tone is a bit weird and rude for me. We've been together for a while now, but she sometimes treats me like a stranger. I also flipped a bit and told her that she's acting weird, and that these little quirks of hers are going to make it very hard to live with her. We're planning to move in together soon. We had a big argument after this, doubting the entire relationship because I said it's going to be hard to live with her. I agree it was bad timing since she had an interview the next day, but I couldn't not tell her in the moment that she could have at least had a sense of humor about it while telling me to take off her jacket. You're an idiot. Not wearing one's clothes without permission is a perfectly reasonable boundary. Lord knows how many articles I've had stretched out/damaged by exes raiding my closet. and she asked, apparently calmly and without rancor, that you not do so. You fuming, rethinking your relationship over this incident doesn't seem like a measured response. You're an idiot. How is stating a boundary while saying please and thank you rude? You asked. She said no. That should have been the end of it. You read something into that comment and started an argument because you're having doubts that's what actually happened. Now, for the next story. Am I an idiot for leaving my mom's birthday weekend early? I, 32, male, traveled a few states away to see my mom on her birthday. I see her 3 times per year. I rented a car and drove down Thursday after work. I arrived at her house Friday morning. I had a plane ticket to return home Monday at 2 p.m. My wife did not travel with me for a couple of reasons. First, she is in school and has exams the following week. She wanted to stay home to study. Second, we adopted a dog a month prior and did not want to board the puppy. Saturday night, I spoke to my wife on the phone before bed. She expressed being overwhelmed by the dog and studying. I said I wish I could come home early to help. My wife agreed coming home early would help alleviate her stress. Sunday morning, I moved my flight Monday from 2 p.m. to 8 a.m. I told my mom of the change and was met with no reaction. That afternoon, 2 of my mom's friends came over for cocktails. I sat with them talking. Around 5 p.m., I stepped away to call home and check in. We spoke for about 30 minutes. After the call, I went back to sit down with my mom and her friends. When I entered the room, one of her friends asked, "You didn't have to move your flight up earlier, did you?" I responded I was just checking in at home. The same friend then says, "Where are your balls? Does your wife have you on a short leash? You have no backbone and are rushing home. I mean, you are such a pussy." I looked over at my mom and she sat back and watched this unfold. I attempted to explain my wife was stressed and wanted me home. My mom's friend continued berating me. I looked again to my mom who sat back and said nothing. My mom eventually said, "Stop. He's not going to want to sit with us anymore." I then walked into the room and went for a walk to cool down. When I came home 30 minutes later, my mom apologized for her friend being so mean. I accepted her apology, and we did not discuss the event for the rest of the night. The next day, my mom drove me to the airport and said, "Tell your wife thank you for lending you to me." I feel like changing my flight earlier upset my mom, L, and she shared those frustrations with her friends and not me. I see her 3 times per year, so I could be the AH for shortening that time. You're an idiot. You only get to see your mom 3 times a year. You'd think you'd want as much time with her as possible in those few days. And your wife can't seem to handle studying and taking care of a puppy for a couple of days? How selfish of her to also ask you to do that. Not an idiot. When you go home is a decision you get to make. And if your mom wants you to stay longer and or visit more often, she needs to speak up about it instead of passive-aggressively blaming your wife. It's not controlling or manipulative for your wife to say, "I'm stressed," and then to agree that it would be easier if you came home earlier. Saying it would be easier is not the same as "get back here now" or similar sentiments. Now, for the next story. Would I be an idiot for calling the city on a homeless couple? My spouse, male 27, and I, female 30, bought our first home just over a year ago. We were relocating from a big city and were unable to tour the home in person. We entrusted our parents and our realtor to do so, and we toured via FaceTime. Our house is in a perfect location. It's in a walkable neighborhood, in a non-walkable city, close to downtown. There's a nice mix of residential homes and businesses. One of the things we liked about the location of the house is there are no neighbors behind or to the left of the house. The empty lot behind us is owned by one of the businesses close by, and the lot to the left is owned by the city. A few months after the move, we learned there was a homeless man who slept in the empty lot to the left of us. He slept on a mattress under a tree on the other side of our fence. This didn't bother us. Again, we're from a big city, and my spouse also works in housing and is sensitive to the issues of homeless people. This homeless man also wasn't there all the time, maybe 2-3x per week and mainly at night for sleep. We'd also see him around the neighborhood and have sparked up a couple conversations. During the winter, he vacated the space and a new couple took the spot. They're there all the time and they live in a tent. We do spend a lot of time in our backyard because of our toddler and our energetic puppy. Oftentimes, we have conversations around upcoming plans, etc. Because of the proximity to our home fence, they are within earshot of our conversations. Even if they couldn't hear our conversation, being so close to our home, they're able to pick up on patterns of when we're home or not. We have a trip coming up and we'll be away for a week and a half. I'm starting to feel a bit nervous about being away from our house for fear something could happen while we're gone. My husband thinks we should leave them alone, but I can't shake the feeling. We're not able to agree on what to do. Would I be an idiot if I called the city on this couple? Not an idiot. I can understand your concerns, but instead of calling the cops on them specifically, maybe ask for extra patrols. Also invest in ring cameras if you are concerned. You're an idiot. Leave homeless people alone. Worried to put cameras too around your place. Don't bother them. They won't bother you. I'm homeless and living in a tent in an area set aside by my city. We don't bother anyone. They don't bother us. When I lived in a provincial park, it was the same. Don't bother homeless people. You have to be entitled to bother people who don't have many safe places to sleep. Put a fence up if needed. Now, for the next story. Am I an idiot for leaving my girlfriend at a restaurant? My girlfriend and I were at a restaurant and she was extremely not fond of the menu. She has no dietary restrictions or is vegan. She's just a picky eater. She ordered anyways and wanted to get the same thing I did. She hated it before even taking the first bite, and I kept telling her to at least try it. She took a bite and gave me a gag face. She continued to complain about the food and critique it while I was eating, and people were watching, and it was pretty embarrassing. What shocked me is that she got up to the waiter and loudly told him to take it back. She doesn't want it anymore, and it was awful. I got fed up. I left and got in my car and went home. She noticed and called me while I was driving, and I went home and called her back and told her what she did was embarrassing as frick and something a Karen would do. She was crying and told me to frick off and called me an idiot and all other sorts of names. She had someone pick her up from the restaurant, but she told me when she got home that I have to pay her back for the food, and she deserves me to take her to another restaurant. After an argument, I asked her to leave, and I haven't spoken to her since. Her friend messaged me, the one who picked her up, saying I was a piece of poop and I should be ashamed because I left her at the restaurant. Am I an idiot? Everyone sucks here. Both of you need to learn how to behave in public, but who leaves their girlfriend stranded at a restaurant? You are the much bigger idiot in this situation. Not only did you abandon her without a car at a restaurant, but also stuck her with the bill. Not an idiot. OP did the right thing in leaving so the situation could de-escalate. I too have had meals ruined by drama queens. If she didn't like anything on the menu, she shouldn't have ordered or just not gone out to eat and made her own dinner. Now, for the next story. Am I an idiot for telling my girlfriend to become a surgeon? I'm 31 years old and I've been with my 29-year-old partner for about 1.5 years now. Everything has been great for the most part. We have been talking about marriage, moving in together, having children and all that for around 2 months. I work in a private equity firm, and I will take over my dad's hedge fund when he retires in around 10 years. My girl is studying medicine to become a surgeon. She is currently completing her residency. She has occasionally expressed her disdain for the long hours, rude patients, night shifts, being on call, etc. I told her that it comes with the territory, and it's something she has just got to get past. I don't like when I have 12-plus-hour days, but it is what it is. My partner is academically gifted according to her professors, but she has some terrible financial habits. She spends most of what she earns, barely saves anything, and doesn't make any investments. In an effort to get her to be more money-savvy, I decided to teach her about financial discipline and investing. To do this, I showed her my own investment portfolio, which I have never shown anyone aside from my parents, to illustrate my progress throughout the years and how she could do something similar with her own money. However, this took an unexpected turn. We started talking about our individual finances. I told her about my dad's company and investments, and she told me about her parents' restaurant business, which barely breaks even. We had a discussion about this for over 2 weeks, and she asked me if she could quit her residency. She had always complained about work like anyone would about their 9-5, but I never thought she would want to quit entirely. When I asked why, she said that she wasn't particularly fond of the work, and that I have enough money to take care of us both. I told her that it would be unfair to place the entire financial burden on me, to which she said that I could easily afford it, so it shouldn't matter. She said that she would find something to do, but she doesn't want to study again. I don't like how she suddenly switched up and wants to quit. It seems incredibly unfair how she can just drop her entire career just because I can afford a nice lifestyle for the both of us. I told her that she could maybe take a break for a week after completing her residency to think about it, but she wanted to quit then and there. I told her that she had to toughen up and get through at least the residency, but she got mad and told me I wasn't understanding enough. We ended up getting into a huge fight and have not talked in 3 days. Some history. She studied biomed initially for 3 years, then did her Doctor of Medicine, which was 6 years. Then she started her residency, which she will be completing in 3 months. Afterwards, her plan was to apply for the Royal Australasian College of Surgeons surgical training program, which is another 6 years to finish. Everyone sucks here. If she already disdains being in the field in general, wasting 6 more years of time and money to confirm what she'd already decided she hated is a stupid idea. You shouldn't force your opinion on her. And her expecting you to support her is a deal-breaker level entitlement, not an idiot. You didn't tell her to be a surgeon. You encouraged her to finish something that she's been working towards for about a decade. It does seem bizarre that she wants to up and quit this after finding out how much money you have in your portfolio. However, she may be feeling trapped since she does have so much invested towards this and lacks the financial stability to bail. I think she should finish up the last 3 months of residency and then take a break to think about what the next best move for her might be. Is there a way she can pivot without wasting all the work she's done so far? It's worth exploring, but you should make it very clear if you are not interested in supporting her financially long term. Make sure you both have realistic expectations going forward, especially regarding the timeline for marriage, children, and careers.